You shoved your cheating in my face. I kind of expected it, but I wasn't as emotionally prepared as I thought I would be. The neglect, the disrespect, the absolute refusal when it came to any kind of intimacy all pointed to the same thing. She was either having an affair, thinking about having an affair, or just tired of being my wife. I had kind of made up my mind to lose her. Over the past few months, she had become easier to accept. What I didn't understand was why she didn't just leave. I mean, why drag it out? Just say goodbye and live your life. I didn't wire money because we didn't have much. We lived in a house with no debt, but only because it belonged to my grandmother, and we moved there after she died. I saw signs even then that I didn't like, so I talked to my parents, and they agreed to keep the house in their name for at least a year just to be sure. We had our own house. Well, we banked. We lived there for 6 years before Sandy drank too much wine one night and dozed off, leaving a dozen candles burning, one of which was too close to the curtains. She was awakened by the alarm and managed to get out, but by then the entire living room was engulfed in flames. The fire department got there about the same time I did, preparing to fight the fire as I told them about the gun collection and all the ammunition I kept. About that time, a few shots rang out, so they moved a safe distance away and let it burn. One of my best friends was the captain of that particular station, and he wrote that it was too far away when they arrived to help with insurance. Apparently, there was no stupidity clause in the insurance policy because they paid it off, leaving us with a net amount of about $30,000. That was more than I thought we'd get, so we took it and moved into Grandma's house. We still had about $20,000 left, and she would get half of that, enough to start living in a decent apartment. I would stay where I was. I did a few other little things, and if we split up, she'd be very disappointed. Like I said, I expected this, I just didn't expect it to go so cold-blooded. I was working a different shift, my hours were later than hers. It was winter time, and it got dark pretty early in my area. I noticed her car wasn't in the garage and the porch light wasn't on. I walked in, calling her name. She didn't answer, and I found her at the dressing table putting on makeup. She was wearing an LBD, not the one I was used to, a brand new one with a higher hem and lower neckline. I watched her for a few minutes while she ignored me. "Are we going somewhere?" "No, this is me. I have a date." She waited for an explosion, but it didn't come. I just stared at her until she got nervous. "Did you hear me? I said I'm on a date. I'm seeing another man." "No, you're not." What?" I said no. No means no means no. You can date whoever you want, make love to whoever you want as soon as you move in. I'll file as soon as I can, but you don't do that while we're living under the same roof. Why don't you pack up some things and stay somewhere else for a few days? Give me time to get everything organized, and then we'll talk about how to divide everything up. Her laugh seemed almost raven-like for some reason. "I'm not leaving." "You are. I love this house, and when it's mine, I'll decorate it the way I like. If you prove yourself a dear, at least I'll get most of the money when we're forced to sell. Do us both a favor. Move in with your parents until this is over." "No, you need to leave." "Oh, I'm going to in about 30 minutes. Don't be here when I get back or I'll call the police. I'm sure I can think of something to get you thrown out. I heard they'll hold you for 48 hours for domestic violence. I think I can change the locks and get a restraining order by then." She was a little shaken when I smiled. "Whatever you think, don't do it. I'm serious, Henry. This is a done deal. You're being used right now. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to fix this lipstick. This bright red should be the perfect color." I just smiled and walked out of the bedroom. I knew she didn't have the guts to ask him to pick her up, which meant she was going to meet him. I walked through the garage, picking up the aluminum baseball bat I used over the summer. 4 good swings took care of her headlights and taillights. She's not leaving in this car. I walked back and saw her purse lying on the counter. I opened it, noticing a 6-pack of contraceptives as I pulled out her cell phone. Not wanting to make a mess, I carried it into the garage, removed the battery, put it on the workbench, grabbed a hammer and broke it into 3 pieces. I reassembled the phone without the battery and tossed it back into my purse. I almost stuck pinpricks in defense, but stopped, thinking she would claim it as mine. She walked into the kitchen as I was pouring coffee, carrying the highest heels I'd ever seen. When she saw me, she frowned. "Out!" she shouted, pointing at the door. I just smiled and sipped my coffee. She sighed. "Okay, if that's what you want. Look for some police officers around here soon. You might want to call your dad for bail money when you can get out." I took another sip of coffee. "Why would the cops come? I didn't threaten you. I didn't raise my hand to you. All I did was refuse to let you kick me out of my house." "That's not what I'm going to tell the cops. You threatened me when I asked for a divorce and insulted me. I'm afraid for my life. They always trust a woman. I'm not kidding, Henry. You've got about 30 minutes until I call." She stomped away as fast as she could in those heels. 5 minutes later, she could be heard yelling through the door. She stormed out, and the look on her face made me a little nervous. "You asshole! What did you do to my car? What makes you think I damaged your car? You shouldn't leave it parked on the street like that." For a second, she just stared at me. "Never mind. I'll just call him to pick me up. I'll even let you see me kiss him when I get out. Don't be surprised if you don't see my head when we pull away." It was my turn to make her nervous as I grinned. "Sure, give him a call. It'll give us a chance to get to know each other better. I can tell him what a crazy fool you can be. Hopefully he doesn't have any long-term plans after all. You're proving to him that marriage vows don't matter much to you." She went up a few decibels when she discovered her phone wasn't working. Stomping off, she came back in her sneakers, carrying her heels. "Have a nice evening," I said, smiling. "You'll get yours, asshole!" I could still hear her swearing as she walked down the street. It was almost too much when I saw her knock on the first door and they wouldn't let her in. She must have repeated that for half a block until she realized no one was going to help her. "Thanks, Mom. I called her when I figured it out, and she called all the neighbors. I grew up on this street. Everyone knew me, and everyone loved me. Her, not so much. I knew she would be coming to the phone soon, so I sat down again and waited." It took about 20 minutes for the police officers to answer. I didn't know it at the time, but she came back, staying in the shadows, waiting for the police officers to arrive. I knew one of the policemen, a girl I graduated high school with. I invited them in, offered them a cup of coffee. They seemed nervous. "Let me guess. You're here on a domestic disturbance call. See the broken furniture? See the abrasions on your knuckles, the torn clothes?" They shook their heads. "Then what makes you think there was any disturbance?" "She said you threatened her, Henry. Told her you were going to ruin her life when she told you she was leaving you. I'm sorry, Henry, but the law is clear. We have to arrest you." God, that sounds serious. How serious is perjury? The man spoke first. "If you have any evidence of that, now would be a good time to show us." So I showed them a video made with a cell phone camera. Both cops frowned. "Well, that gives you a lot of options, Henry. Perjury is out of your hands, that's up to us. However, you can use the video to get a restraining order. You can clearly hear her say, 'You'll get yours.' A clear threat, if we've ever heard one. Sounds like you guys don't need to be in close proximity to each other right now. You can apply tomorrow and give our names as evidence. In the meantime, if you have any way to secure the house so she can't come back, that might be a good idea. If she comes back, call us. And Henry, I remember how nice you can get when someone hurts you, so don't, okay? Let it go to trial and let it go. You hear what I'm saying?" "Yes, ma'am, Sergeant." Sweet cheeks. "Oh, I'm sorry. I know no one's called you that since middle school, especially since you started carrying a gun. Old habits, you know. You can't hide it under that uniform. It's still a world-class body. Whoever's in your life right now is a lucky man, Heather." She blushed and walked out. I seem to have suddenly developed the ability to piss off any woman I come into contact with. The guy smirked. "Sweet cheeks, huh? You're right. It's a world-class body. But no one will see her now. She just went through a horrible divorce. You're not the only one with a spouse who wants to date. Please don't make us come back tonight." They didn't have to come back. While I was talking to the cops, my loving wife slipped into the garage with the brilliant idea of taking my car. The downside to this plan was that she threw her keys on the kitchen table and couldn't go in with the cops. And then she saw them. I always kept a set of monster keys on the workbench. That's what she called it the first time she saw it. It was an old, but in perfect condition, full-size, four-wheel drive 1989 Suburban. I think you could fit both of our other cars in it. It was only driven when I needed to haul something on my trailer 2 or 3 times a summer to haul a friend's pontoon fishing and as a snowmobile. If you were careful, you would never get stuck. What she didn't consider was that I had disconnected the chain from the garage door opener just in case that's what happened, and to keep her out. She started up the beast, the sound was incredibly loud in the small space, hit the garage door opener button, and waited until she thought it was up and released the clutch, thinking to leave as quickly as possible. She should have turned on the light, or she would have seen that the garage wouldn't open. The garage door couldn't match the power the 454 was putting out, nor the pull the low gear gave the beast. She flew out backwards at the sound of grinding sheet metal straight into the front of the police car. She had enough inertia to throw the car back several feet, causing significant damage to the front end. Heather reached for the car door as the beast sprinted out of the garage. 5 more seconds and it could have ended very badly. Her partner wasn't so lucky. He opened the door and was about to get in when she crashed into the patrol car and the door knocked him about 10 feet down the driveway. Heather was a redhead, and I was well aware that she had a personality to match her hair. As I rushed upstairs to check on Officer Jones, she was pulling my loving wife out of the monster by her hair, all the while yelling, "Get on the ground, you fool! Now!" My loving wife, Ginger, by the way, if anyone cares about her name, was pretty much out of it and just moaned. As soon as she was cuffed, Heather rushed to her car and turned on the radio. "Officer down! Officer down! Get help to 411 Elm Drive now!" Officer Jones was unconscious. Most of the impact was to his face, and it was pretty clear that his nose was broken. I gently cradled his head in case of spinal injuries so he wouldn't choke on his own blood. I must have held his head for about 20 minutes before the first ambulance pulled up. 10 minutes later, it looked like a police meeting. All the officers on duty were there. Heather rode with Officer Jones to the hospital since her car was out of commission after giving her statement to the investigator and referring him to me. Ginger got a free ride in the ambulance, too, due to getting bruises, a few bumps from the airbag, and a pretty good bruise. I repeated all of this 4 times before they were satisfied. Being a small town, I knew a couple other cops, including the main one, my friend's dad. He was our baseball coach when we were in middle school. "Any news on Officer Jones, Coach? No matter what rank he held, he'll always be a coach to me." "Nothing definitive, Henry. So far, though, it doesn't look too bad. They'll know more when they study the MRIs and X-rays." I thanked him and was just leaving when he called out to me. "Just so you know, your wife seems to be fine, if the accusation of everything we're incriminating her with can be called fine. How can you accuse her of extreme stupidity? Here are the implications." Ginger got out on bail, went into the bank, and withdrew $19,000, leaving me with $1,000. She needed the money to pay back her parents' bail and hire a good lawyer. I still had a restraining order in place, so we talked through our attorneys. Our first meeting went extremely poorly for her. I had my parents and my attorney with me because their input was relevant. The attorney listed her requirements. She wanted the house or at least half of its value. I knew she had arranged for a friend who was a realtor to buy it for her and then sell it back to her, using her half of the proceeds for a down payment. She knew I would never agree to sell it to her. My attorney pulled a paper out of his briefcase and handed it to the advocate. He seemed surprised and Ginger cringed. "What?" Her lawyer explained it to her. "The house belongs to his father. His name is nowhere on the deeds." You can't get half of something that doesn't belong to you. She was still seething with anger when he named the next demand. My client wants all new furniture in the house. Living room, dining room, furniture from all the bedrooms, silver service, and new kitchen appliances. My attorney responded with new paperwork. Everything we bought was paid for by check, from my father's account. We'd pick something out, I'd take it home, pick up my dad in his truck, he'd write a check, and I'd give him the cash. I'm afraid all of the rental furniture belongs to the homeowner. None of it is public property, but he agreed to let you choose one of the bedrooms. I suppose for nostalgia. After all, almost everything we owned was out of her reach. I fixed her car the following weekend, delivering it to her parents' house when I found out they were gone trying to bail out their daughter. The judge called me and my attorney into his office during the divorce, going over the papers. He tried to hide a chuckle, but couldn't. Very nice, boy. You cut her legs right out from under her. You knew that was going to happen, didn't you? I shrugged. I hadn't exactly envisioned the scenario, but I knew it wouldn't end well. I was just protecting myself. By all rights, she owed me $9,000 of the money she took. But if she just signed the papers, we'd be even. He muttered. Fair enough. Back in the courtroom, he told Ginger that everything was documented and legal and there was nothing he could do about it. But I agreed to leave her all the money she took if she just agreed to the divorce. If not, I would demand them. She was furious, but she had no choice. The judge lowered the gavel with a bang, and I was a free man. She had to forget about me and focus on her other problems, filing a false police report, assaulting an officer with an automobile. They pounced on a bunch of trivial crap that was thrown out because they were mad at her about Officer Jones. She got lucky and ended up on probation for a year. I ran into her a month later at Walmart. She wanted to talk, so we ordered drinks at the cafe and sat down. It took her a minute to find her voice. Why were you so hard on me? I could ask you the same question. When exactly did you decide to give up on our marriage? You know, you could have just broken up instead of making the last few months so miserable. And what was the reason you shoved your date in my face? You've lived with me long enough to know that I'm not just going to give up. She sat for a moment before she spoke. I wasn't happy, and I haven't been in a long time. I hated when our house burned down, hated moving here, hated leaving our friends behind. I guess that's where it all started. Looking back, I realize you're a good guy, and I should have just talked to you. That's probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. I didn't want to go home either. I liked where we lived. If you had given me any indication that you wanted to stay, we would have taken the insurance money and bought something else. Even after we moved, we could still come back. I think that was probably partly true. But the truth was that you wanted to leave. Why is there so much singing and dancing at the end? I know it wasn't all your fault, but I blamed you for everything. I wasn't really interested in anyone else. I just wanted to hurt you. I'm sorry for the way I acted. You were right. We should have just talked things out and parted as best we could. I got up. I'm done. Well, that was enlightening. You need to see someone, Ginger. You're totally screwed. I heard you're coming home, so I doubt I'll see you again. Try to live a decent life, and if you fall in love with someone else, use our experience as a learning tool. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked away. I saw her 4 years later when I returned for a friend's funeral. She looked almost the same, maybe 5 pounds heavier, with longer hair. She saw me and smiled, but we never talked. That was fine with me. Better to leave the past in the past. About 2 years after the whole mess, I ran into Sergeant Sweetcheeks at the firing range. She was wearing jeans and still had a killer body. We got to talking, and I found out that she was engaged to Officer Jones, who had fully recovered. He got a pretty good settlement from my auto insurance, and they planned to use it for a down payment on a house. 18 months later, I saw her again and asked her how she was enjoying marital bliss. She snorted. I guess he didn't have as high an opinion of my body as you do. I caught him with another woman. We didn't part on the best of terms. I wish I could sympathize, but I don't. She seemed surprised. Why wouldn't she be? Because now you're free again, I hope. I never got that sweet-ass flick in high school. This might be my chance. I hear you're a detective now. Can you use that superior brain power to figure out what I'm thinking? She blushed slightly before laughing. And if it's what you're thinking, I'll have to arrest you. It was my turn to glower, but I smiled. No, you're lucky. If you really like this superior body and are willing to treat me the way I deserve to be treated, you may find that I'm inclined to share what I really like with the right man. Pick me up at 7, put on a suit, and don't say anything stupid. Now shut up and do it. I showed up at 7 sharp in my best suit. I don't know if it was genetics or training, but even as stupid as I can be sometimes, I knew better than to complain about it. I didn't take her to bed until we were married, 9 months after our first date. All I can tell you is that it was worth the wait. And now it's Captain Sweet Cheeks. I may sound silly, but calling her Sweet Cheeks in public is not the same thing. Although she likes it when I say it in the bedroom. Ginger's been seeing a counselor. I don't know if that helped or not. She's been married twice, and the second husband seems to have been cautious. He seems to keep her on a pretty short leash and reminds her of me when she gets out of control, telling her I'm not the only one who can do that to her. It seems to help her focus, at least for the cousin who told me about it. All I can say is good for her. Our daughter Kelly got married today. Our wedding gift to her was my grandmother's old house. Heather never liked it, and when her parents died, we moved into her house, a big 2-story old farmhouse. Our son Mark will get it when we pass away, which I hope won't be anytime soon. After Kelly left on her honeymoon, I surprised my Sweet Cheeks with tickets to one of those sea cruises, a 25th wedding anniversary present. She had always wanted to go, and I had finally saved up the money to invite her along. A 2-week trip to Europe, her dream vacation. It brought me some really good love. I have to go. Sweet Cheeks calls me back to bed, gives me a little blue pill and a glass of water. Sounds like it's going to be a very nice vacation. The end! Subscribe to my channel! Thank you!